Hello, good morning. Okay, are we on? Kelly, cute. Yes, you're good. Okay, I'm going to move the chat to the side. Going to bother you? To everyone who is here, thank you. People are still coming in, and I'm new to all of this, so you guys just bear with me on this techie stuff. And we'll say hello. Yes, if you are interested and you're here and you're in the womb room, please say a quick hello if you want, and maybe what city you're from. Yeah. Good to see you, Kelly and Ellen. Okay, this is awesome. Now, Emily, can you see their chats as well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, beautiful. Hi, everybody. So happy to be here.
Okay, team, we're going to give it a couple of minutes, and then we're just going to dive right in today. Oh, Wisconsin, hello. Katie, round top, this is awesome. Womb room party people, oh goodness, I know who that's from. Hi, Regina. This is awesome. Okay, I'm going to start talking and just, I want to thank you all for being here today. And, you know, many of you host podcasts and many of you listen to podcasts. That hasn't quite resonated with me. But what I really wanted to do is an extension of something I did years ago when I was living in Chicago. I hosted a mom's club, and our moms, you know, because we wanted to feel like we were teenagers again, right? So we had a club, and it was for new mothers, for us to have a night together where we could be together, have nourishing foods, and we would bring in speakers to come talk about things that were of interest to us, and things that helped us grow as women and as mothers. And I've really missed that. And cultivating community is so important. I realize that it is a gift of mine. It's something that I love to offer. In the past 2 years, I think has really demonstrated this need. And of course, to be in person is ideal. I love to be with people. I love to touch people. I love to hug people. I love to wipe someone's tears or belly laugh with them. But we now have this opportunity to connect online. And so, yes, to be together in person is the optimal opportunity, but we have resources now to connect this way. So for me, this is bringing in a women's circle and learning with you today, Emily. So thank you all for your love and for your interest, for your enthusiasm for this, for understanding the need to connect with other women. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, really. And I think this is such a special space and such an important space. And I love that you created it and brought it to life here. And I'm happy to be your first speaker. It's exciting.
Yes, thank you all for being our first womb room conversation. So I am so thrilled for today. Emily, thank you for coming on. Spirit babies, the idea of spirit babies was brought to my attention a couple of years ago. I have served as a birth doula for 16 years. And a couple of years ago, a woman walked in my house and she had found out that I was a birth doula and I worked with women. And she asked me if I had read the book Spirit Babies. And I had not. And I've got, you know, oodles of books in here. But my whole body got chills. And I say that today because this conversation, I want you as attendees to pay attention to what's happening in your body today. Because for me, those chills are truth. Somewhere in your body, there's a deep resonance for what was said or what a concept that was brought to the surface or something. So pay attention to those and where they lie in your body. So I got chills when someone brought up the idea of spirit babies and read the book. And so, I don't know where everyone is at with their idea of life and death. So my invitation to you today is to take perhaps your beliefs and set them on the sidelines and just say, isn't that interesting? And to really sit with curiosity today. And, for me, it was like, you're born, you're dying, the end. Like, I honestly just didn't give it a lot of thought, but over the past few years, I've started working with energy medicine and working with people. So I've sat in birth, I've sat in death, and I know things differently now. Yeah. And so this continues to come to my awareness. And so I invite you to do that. I invite you to sit with curiosity, those of you who are on this call, and yes, say, what if? And isn't that interesting? So my dear friend Emily is a psychic medium, and she connects with spirit babies. She also mentors others to tap into their own intuitive gifts. Yes, we all have intuitive gifts. So she really helps those come online for others. So I'm going to quit talking, but Emily, perhaps let's start first with what is spirit babies, and then I would love to hear how this came into your field. Yes.
I'm excited. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I love the preface of just how you came to know about spirit babies. And everybody kind of comes into their own sort of journey with like, spirit babies, what is that? I have the ability to, I'll explain, what they are, but essentially, a spirit baby is just a soul. And so I do say that in this work, it does require some curiosity around life and death. So I love that you brought that up, because it essentially is the communication with the soul. And we can communicate with souls and energies on many different levels. There's so many different ways that we can, as human beings and human bodies, we have these beautiful souls, these energies that fill up our bodies. And there's also energies and souls on all different levels of all different kinds, animals, people, and then also souls, right? Which is souls who are pre-incarnation, basically. That's one of the ways that I'll describe a spirit baby is this is a soul who may or may not have been in a body before as a human being, who is interested or planning or excited about being in a human body in a family on planet Earth again, basically. And so that's one way to look at it, where a spirit baby is really just a person like you and I. It's just a person without a body yet, basically. It's a person who's looking to come into a family, come onto planet Earth, come into the world, choose a body, choose a family. Maybe they've already chosen a family. So it's really just spirit babies, essentially, in my perspective, is just soul to soul communication. And so that's how I'm able to do it. And so I had sort of an interesting foray into it, because on some level, I was already communicating with souls, just of a different kind. I was communicating with souls of people who were recently passed or had been passed for a long time. So, in the process of mediumship, which it doesn't matter where you stand on that, there's soul communication across space and time. And so that was kind of my area of expertise for a very long time. And that's what I did. That was my focus. I had no idea. The spirit babies was not in my awareness. I didn't know. I was talking to people's loved ones. I was providing healing in that way. And so how I came into it essentially is I was doing my thing on a regular day, just talking to people's loved ones, talking to those kinds of souls.
This is your average, Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah, just a regular day. And there's two kind of defining experiences that I had with discovering spirit babies. And I've also read the book Spirit Babies by Walter Mckeshan. Fantastic book, but I discovered it afterwards, after this started happening. And so it was interesting because this was totally new to me. I was like, mediumship, people's loved ones, that's what I'm doing. That's my focus. I had no idea what this was either. And so there was two defining experiences where I started to get curious, just as you said, that why not? If we have the ability to communicate with souls on all levels across space and time, and we have the ability to communicate, not just me, but everyone has the ability to communicate or receive connection and communication with the soul of their loved ones, why wouldn't we be able to communicate with souls who are just in a different phase of their their journey, their planning journey, where they've been here before, they're looking to come again. So why not was kind of my questioning. It took me a little bit to get there. Anyway, so the first experience that I had was I was working with a woman, and she's still in my orbit today. She's wonderful. And I always just tell her about, you were the spark that started this whole fire. And she goes, I know, it's so fun. And so I was working with this woman. And basically, she was doing a type of session with me where it was kind of like, I call them just healing sessions. So just whatever you need, whoever needs to communicate with you, whatever messages you need to hear, basically. And so I was kind of just tuning in as I do at the beginning. And I got this energy of this little girl. And she was presenting to me around 3 or 4 years old, really sweet, curly hair, dark hair, big cheeky smile, dimples, adorable. This is how she was presenting to me. And so I was like, okay, so I started describing this to her. I said, there's this little girl here, and she is basically saying that she is your daughter. And I said, so you must have lost a child. And she said, yes, but not in that way. And I was like, what? So I'm trying to figure this out. I'm going, what do you mean not in that way? And she said, well, about 6 months ago, or I can't remember exactly what the time frame was, but it was a period of time before that. She said, I had a miscarriage. I've been trying to conceive. I already have one son. We've been trying to conceive another child, and I had a miscarriage, and I always felt that this was a girl. I felt so strongly. I knew the moment that I conceived this was a girl, I was going to have a daughter. I was so excited, and then I miscarried. And so I'm going, wow, so this soul is basically saying, I'm your daughter. And she's presenting to me in this way, full color, full detail. I see her. I could see every ringlet of her hair. I could see like the space between her teeth. It was so vivid, and so I'm going, wow. So she's relating to this person as her daughter, and saying, basically, it ended up that she was saying, well, it didn't work out for us that time, but I'm going to try again. I'm going to come back. Can we try again? Can we do this again? And so I said, is it your intention to conceive again? And she said, yes, like we're trying every cycle, every month. We want to conceive. We want another child. Anyway, so 3 months later, she conceived again. 9 months later, had her beautiful baby girl who came back and back into to this body. So that was my first experience. That was the first time that I was ever introduced to this concept. And then there was one that kind of quickly followed that I'll also describe because I think it's good context. Is I was working with somebody else. This was maybe a couple of weeks later. They were very close together. And so I started, of course, to get the clue and start to get the message that, and I started to get this communication and get this feeling that, and get really an instruction. I actually got an instruction where I was kind of given an energy said, this is a part of your work and this is something that you have to do. Okay. And this is going to be very important, basically. I'll explain that more in a moment. You have to do this. And I remember at the time I was kind of like, why me? I didn't really understand why. There was other things I was doing. I was working in other areas. I was very happy in all the other areas that I was working in. And I didn't really understand that, which I will come back to. But anyway, so I was working with another woman, and she came to me. She had heard about me through the grapevine, and she came to me with a very specific. This time, she came to me with a very specific intention, and she said, "I am currently pregnant, And I don't know whether or not I want to have this baby or whether it's possible for me to have this baby. There was a variety of different circumstances that were challenging, and kind of, she was uncertain basically what to do. And so I said, well, what I can do is let's talk to this little soul who's here with you right now, and let's see what they're saying. And, my intention is never to tell people what to do. Everybody makes their own decisions. They have free will. What they do with their bodies, I'm just here to sort of say, well, let's see. And so I tune in with this soul, and it's this little boy, and I still get goosebumps when I'm talking about him. He left such a mark on me, and I've actually gotten the chance to meet him now in person. He's now here, and I got to meet him. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so yes,
yes. So I'm jumping ahead. So this little boy is here, and he's so protective over his mom, and he's just going, I just want to make sure she's okay. I don't want her to be in any kind of distress. I'm sorry that she's confused. Very protective. Very was just concerned about her well-being, and wanted. And it was mom first. That's all I can focus on. That was all he was communicating. And he said basically, I already understood, or I understand that this particular circumstance that you and I are in together is not ideal. And I'm at peace with the decision that you have to make, or that you are thinking about making. And let's, do what you need to do what you feel needs to be done. And when I will be back, basically, in the future, when the circumstances are ideal for you and for me and for our family. And so that's what he said. And so I said, I'll leave you with that, and there was other details that were part of that, but I said, I'll leave you with that. And so she decided to terminate the pregnancy after that, and was actually very, very at peace with her decision. There was still healing that was involved, but she was at peace with her decision. Anyway, moving forward, she had already had a child at that point. She already had a daughter at that point, and her and the person that this child's father were not together, and basically they found their way back to each other. There was a healing in their relationship where they came back together, and decided, actually, I want this. I want you. I want, so they chose, these two people chose each other again. And once that happened, they were together for a little while, and then she started to get these dreams. She was telling me, started to get these dreams that this little boy wants to come back, and the circumstances are correct, and he's ready again. And shortly after that, she conceived. And so this was actually, there was a little bit of a time gap in between. So this beautiful baby boy was born in the spring of 2020. So he's close to 2 years old now. And I just had the chance to meet him recently. And he's just like, exactly, like, very protective. He's protective over his older sister. He's protective over his mom. He's just very similar to the soul energy that was present sort of at the beginning. There was about between the time that I talked to him the first time and the time that he was born, it was about 3.5 years, basically. And so he's here now. He's with his family, and there's this beautiful completion that this mother has, and an understanding and really a bond. So yeah, I know that's a lot.
So yes, I'm going to pause and just, is anyone else like super emotional? Like this is, this is very soothing to hear. There's so much there, but I want to take a moment. I know this is sensitive content for us. And as women, as carriers of pregnancies, we really hold the weight and responsibility of bringing a child to life, right, to human form. And I think so often, whether it's a miscarriage or a termination of a pregnancy, there's so much responsibility, there's so much guilt, there's so much shame, there's so much, did I do something wrong? Is something wrong with me? And hearing these stories, I just feel like it's like a balm for an aching heart. At least that's what I'm feeling right now. So I don't know if anyone else, yes, such a beautiful story. I know minds are blown. So thank you for sharing those. And I do think it's important. These are difficult decisions women have to make and are presented with. And honestly, I've never thought about that. I've personally, after my oldest son, I experienced 3 miscarriages and then had our second son, Bowen. So, had Jake, had 3 miscarriages, then had Bowen. And when Bowen was born, it was an enormous birth of myself. Yeah. And, I made comments, Emily, like, oh, I needed to wait for him to arrive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about what that meant. Yes. That was the terminology I would use. And honestly, when I birthed him and I held him, the pain of the other miscarriages for me dissipated. And I just felt like I needed to wait for him. But I never thought about that beyond that comment. And so in that context, like, am I hearing that, like, these miscarriages, as painful as they are, is part of the journey? And like, at least for me, I know that grief and hurt and what I learned through those experiences have been extremely beneficial and expansive for me.
Yes, absolutely.
I can see that now. I'm on the other side of it. It was horrible going through it. So was that like part of what I also, as a mother, I needed for my journey?
It's a really great question. And I think it's beautiful to hear about your experience, and also your experience. I see this a lot, actually, where whether the circumstances are slightly different, this is a mother trying to conceive for the first time and having multiple miscarriages, or a mother who already has a child who is here and is looking to conceive again and has multiple miscarriages. I see this a lot. And I'll kind of explain, there's a couple of different ways I can take this from, but ultimately, yes, you're hearing correctly. And I think this is the thing, I think just from your experience, you're, like you said, you're on the other side of it now, and there's space from it and there's time in between. And this can be like a sensitive topic for people who are in that experience very recently. It's a lot harder to hear. It's a lot more activating to hear, well, this is a part of the journey. What do you mean? This is so painful. I'm in so much pain. I can't take this again. I don't want to keep going. How do I move on from this? And that's I work with a lot of women and families who are in those positions, and it's very, it's difficult. It is challenging. Now, what I will say is that, like you said, and just speaking to your experience directly, Peyton, I think, souls are, and I'm sure we'll get to kind of the choosing families and soul contracts topic as well. But just to weave this in a little bit, is that souls are really, there's a huge allure, there's a huge sparkliness to the possibility at a human incarnation. It's very coveted, believe it or not. It's very coveted. We really want to, the souls they really want to be here. And especially in the last, especially in the last 20 years, but definitely in the last 10 years, since what I've been noticing, I noticed these patterns throughout time. And what I've been noticing is that since 2011, 2012, things really started to kind of accelerate in a certain way, in terms of souls are just so eager and excited to be here. And So there's many different complexities to it, but basically sometimes souls are actually just come into an incarnation or into a conception experience just for a short ride. They come in, they have a short ride, and then they are able to they have their experience, and their experience is complete. And this is talked about in the book Spirit Babies as well. And I have seen this personally too, where a soul is basically just saying, that's all I needed. That's the entirety of the incarnation, whether that was a 6-week pregnancy.
I'm going to interrupt just a second. So because I'm going to just want to make sure I'm understanding and hearing this correctly. So for a soul, if a pregnancy had to be terminated for whatever reason, you're saying that soul perhaps would know, like, I'm here for this short period of time for the growth. That particular soul or the parent.
Yes, it depends on the circumstances. There's so many different nuances, I would say, but that is one of them. Absolutely, where the growth between soul and mother and family is a huge part of conception and pregnancy and birth and everything else. I mean, it is. I'm sure. I know you do a lot of this work, and you've seen. I mean, the rebirth of the woman and the rebirth of it's a huge initiation. It's a huge portal, but that begins. Even preconception, conception, through losses and things like that. It's really this kind of continuum. So anyway,
thank you.
Yes. And so basically there's some souls who choose just a short ride, and they come into your family just for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and then they're complete with their journey, and they say, thank you, that was beautiful, that was all I needed. I get that a lot, where they say, thank you for letting me come just for that short time. I'm sorry it was painful for you. It was a great growth and learning opportunity for me. I hope that it can be a great growth and learning opportunity for you. I see that a lot. And then I also see this energy of souls who are basically very persistent, especially in situations of recurrent miscarriages, where they're like, okay, that didn't quite work, no problem, we'll try again. Okay, no problem, we'll try again. And so this is what I see a lot, where I'm talking to these mothers, and they're so distraught and so in pain and so much grief, that why did they leave, what happened, what went wrong? And I say, well, they're still here, and they're still trying. The same soul that you had. I just had this experience just last week, actually, a mother who had 3 recurring miscarriages, and she said, why? I don't understand, what? And I said, well, she's here, she's trying again, she's ready to go again, let's go. So that's the thing, is that there's also some of these experiences, not always, there's lots of different nuances, like I said, but where they will try and try and try again, depending on the circumstances, depending on if again, it could be a growth oriented thing. It could be time is a big one, where it's just the circumstances around timing just weren't quite right. It could be just right. There's so many different factors, especially now. But that's something that can be really comforting for moms to hear too. It's this soul is they're right here. They're still here. They haven't left you. They're still trying.
Well, I giggle. That's why I was giggling when you said that, because for my son, who I had after the miscarriages, he's very persistent. And that was one of the words I would definitely use to describe him. So those of you who are on the call who know him. So that's why I was giggling during that. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what happened there.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
So tell me, I've worked with a lot of women who are having some fertility challenges, and some of with my work is clearing fear and perception and emotions around receiving a pregnancy. So can you speak on a little bit about what you're seeing in your experience with some of the fertility challenges, and maybe even perhaps how emotions and perceptions can come into play?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a huge, I'm really passionate about this. And I love the work that you're doing around it too. That's fantastic, because it's so, that's that support, and that support, I think, for women and families experiencing fertility challenges, so it's so crucial, especially now.
What I see is often, a woman will speak, I really want to get pregnant. We're trying, we've been married for a few years, and that's the words that are being spoken, but the body is telling a completely different message.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
so it's like connecting the body to the want. And it's, I think, sometimes really hard to say in your out loud voice. Mm-hmm. I'm terrified to become a mother. I'm terrified how that will change my life. And understand that we have permission to feel all the things that we feel in reservation of being pregnant, caring for a child, caring for a life, and that responsibility. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I see that too. Yeah, just to touch on that point, I see that as well, where it's like, we've been trying for that. I really want this, and I'm really ready, and I exactly, like the body is kind of going, but I'm not ready. I'm still a little bit scared, or the soul is going, I'm not quite ready. I'm scared too. Like, can we talk this out? So sometimes that happens. Like, wow, I'm scared. Okay. You're scared. I'm scared. Like, so that's a thing, and that's why I think that one of the things that I say is that there's so many different angles to conception. There is the actual kind of decision, talking that out with your partner. I think we're ready. Are we going to try? Yes, I think we're going to try. And then maybe onboarding, different kinds of support, physical support, like acupuncture, naturopath, or, a fertility specialist, or whatever it is, or a doula, or a midwife, or, somebody who has, this information and this knowledge. And then I feel that the spiritual piece of conception is also very important. That's my personal opinion. And then that's what I've seen is that in some of these cases where something that can be very helpful and give such amazing context and light and support is the spiritual conception piece, along with everything else. I think it's a very important part of the whole conception journey. And so I have seen on one hand, I like you said, I've seen that where sometimes it just needs to be worked out between the woman and her body and her fears and everything that this means. Her partner, and if there's other children and what that means, and like there's so much to it. And I think that's the thing. To me, I think that we're coming kind of in times past where it was just like you pop out a couple of kids and it's like that was just they help you on the farm, or they work in your family business, or like it was just very, that's just what you do. You just have children, and now I think that there's a lot more consciousness to this, and a lot more complexity to this conversation where it's a massive undertaking to bring new life into this world, especially in these times. And it's okay to have fear. And what I see time and time again is that these souls are they actually would rather us say, I don't know if I can do this, and I am so freaked out, and I have so many emotions, or I have so much anxiety around this, or fill in the blanks, whatever your experience is, that they actually just want us to feel the full emotional kind of range of this experience, so that we can get clear in our minds and bodies around it's just like it's just self-honesty with it, and self-awareness, and also just understanding of what this means, and your partner, and your relationship between you and your partner, and there's so much to it. And so I think that it is one of the things that I have a little story that I could add into this. Is I was working with this mother, and she had a 8-year-old son at the time from a previous relationship that was very traumatic, basically, and was in a new partnership, and had stepchildren and this beautiful partner, and she was ready to try to start to conceive with her husband. And basically what started coming up as she was going through this conception process was, I have so much unresolved trauma from my having my first son, that I feel my body stopping this from happening. And she had the kind of this connection between mind and body to know that that's what was going on. And so that was one of the things before she conceived. She kind of had to go into, basically, she went into like a healing kind of incubator where she had to address and look at what happened in her first relationship and the relationship that she had with her son's father, and kind of different experiences that she had in childhood. And all of these things basically had to happen before she conceived her daughter, who came in also the spring of 2020. Lots of these spring 2020 babies, not a coincidence. And she was able to conceive her daughter after kind of going through this healing process. So it's something that I see a lot, in this connection between mind and body, and our kind of our intellectual intentions and wants and needs, and then what the body is saying, and then what the soul is saying, and what maybe the relationship needs something different, or there's a new level of communication that has to be activated. There's so much, like, it's so vast. There's so much to it, but I hope that answers your question. I kind of went in a couple.
Well, yes. And are there practices that they can do? And this may be to reach out to you later, but one, I mean, all healing starts with awareness, right? So having the awareness that perhaps that there are some unresolved feelings, beliefs, perceptions, connections that need to happen or to be healed for readiness. But are there practices that one can do, or ways to perhaps start connecting to a spirit baby?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, because I think it's important for everybody to know that you can connect with you, just as we are all intuitive, you can also connect with your spirit babies and your own kind of experience as well. It doesn't have to be through me or through anybody. This is not an exclusive experience. It's I can help, and I can kind of peek in and kind of go, okay, what's going on? So one of the things that I will say, I do have a guided connecting to your spirit baby meditation that I'm happy to share with you and to share with the group. It is short. It's only about 15-20 minutes, and I've seen people have incredible connections and results with it. So I'm proud of it, and I think that it has allowed a lot of people to open up and create their own connection with their spirit baby, which then just informs the entire conception process and the pregnancy process and the birth process, because they kind of feel like, okay, I've got this connection, and I can ask the soul, what do you need? Or the soul can tell me, this is what I need, or whatever the case may be. So I have a guided meditation I would love to share. And then it's also very individual. So just speaking from just experiences and readings and things like this, is sometimes it's very funny actually, where a soul will kind of actually give me like a set of instructions or protocol to give to the mother. And it's very different every time. I never know what I'm going to get, where they're like, okay, you have to journal every day, brain dump every day to basically have, emotional, energetic, mental neutrality. Like I had a soul say that, and I was like, wow, okay. So passing that on, that was one of the instructions, or one of the things that sometimes there are these, there's a support from these energies that they're like, they want to help you. They want to make this process as make this process go as smoothly as they can, and so they'll give different protocols and kind of go, okay, we need you to do this, or we need you to like get out and do a grounding practice every day, or
the soul is guiding.
Yeah. Or we need you to do some womb healing work, or, go to get sometimes it's more physical. We need you to go kind of try some acupuncture. There's so many different things that can be suggested. And it's different for every individual, I think, but I think a good, just as a very simple practice that I can offer is the spirit baby meditation. I also have a couple of podcasts on it too, but the meditation is just it's a really great place to start, where you can just go in and have your own experience. And a lot of people like to do it over and over, just to kind of see what new experiences can come up. Because one last thing I will say about that is that in the meditation, somebody will have a soul, a soul come forward, and they'll have this connection with them. And then the next time they go to the meditation, they have another soul who comes in and says, I'm here too, and I want to have a connection too. So yeah, that's kind of, that's a suggestion. That also, just in terms of other than that, other than a meditation, if you're looking for ways to, I described this on my podcast, but if you're looking for ways to feel this connection to the souls of your children before they incarnate, or while you're currently pregnant, or wherever you're at in your journey, you can ask them for communication or for signs and symbols, just as you can ask any kind of unseen energy for these things. So I'll often tell.
Do you ask out loud? Or I want to know how to do this. Okay, so
you can ask out loud. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it is for people who are kind of like, it's easy for me to get stuck in my head, or this kind of thing. You can say it out loud, where you can say, okay, so, to the spirit baby, to the soul that is looking to incarnate and come into my family, if you could send me a sign of a blue butterfly before the end of the day tomorrow, basically. And I'm going to leave it up to you in terms of how you bring that forward for me. But I trust that that is going to be one of the ways that you can, that's a very kind of like easy way just to start playing with that, and to start, oh my gosh, I did see a blue butterfly on a bumper sticker of the car that was driving in front of me. Right. And it's kind of like, oh. And so I've seen lots of people actually start their connections with their spirit babies in that way. And then you build a you can actually start to build a relationship. This is the thing that I see too, is like, I'm working with women who are, they're like, I don't want to conceive for another 5-10 years, but they're starting to build that relationship with that soul, 10 years ahead of time, or 5 years ahead of time as well. So, okay. So yeah, and then also just, you can, as a general rule of thumb, asking is really a door opener for all of these things. Asking, just kind of saying, can you come? Can I have an experience with you in one of in a dream time tonight? Like, will you come into my dream and give me an energetic experience of you, basically? And they will. It might take them some time. Sometimes, it takes a couple of nights, but you just keep asking until, or you ask and you let it go and you forget about it. So there's so many different ways that an individual can start to initiate and sustain and open up regular communication with the soul. So yeah.
So I wanted to ask, there are some things going in through the chat room, and I didn't even preface it as we started, but to all of you who are on this call, thank you for receiving the chats with such kindness and tenderness and grace. So, please know this is a sacred space for you to share what is coming up for you, or if something's just on your heart and you want to share it, and we will hold that container for you very reverently and sacredly. One of my dear friends is going through IVF and is curious about connecting with spirit babies, going through fertility assistance. Do you have any tips there, or is it even any different?
Yeah, great question. Great question. But it basically, fundamentally, it's not different. It's the same kind of communication and everything goes. I think that where IVF we can sometimes kind of think that it might be different is that it's just on the physical level. There's different things happening. There's different things going on. Maybe we're getting tests and we're getting, we're taking these hormones, or we're going in for a transfer, and we're waiting to see if the transfer is going to, there's all of these different kind of elements to it, but the soul communication is really the same. It really truly is. And one of the things that I will guide moms who are going through IVF into is creating just the same kind of sacredness around the practice. Like I'll have, I do these little spirit baby events every couple of months. And one of the ones where there was it just so happened that there was a lot of people there who were going through IVF or about to go through IVF for this kind of thing. And so I basically, the instruction or the information that I got was like, they gave me this mantra, which is it's this kind of mantra that helps a soul travel from ether to spirit. And basically the idea was that it would just bring this kind of sacredness into the IVF process so that it could be just as beautiful and special and feel just as, because it's really the same. It's just, it's really the same. It's just, there's different steps that are taken. And so they were just kind of like, let's help everybody feel that there's still such a sacred, special thing that's happening here. It's just happening through the assistance of the technology that's available to us, which, this has not always been available to us. And what a gift that there are families that are able to conceive through the help and the process of IVF. And so I think it's like, that's so special. That's such a gift. And so understanding that that is just as sacred, just as special, and that there is really nothing different in terms of the soul to soul kind of process or communication. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. And if there are any other questions, please feel free to add those to chat. I woke up knowing we had this conversation today. I woke up and was reminded of my sister-in-law had a pregnancy. Okay, so she had a pregnancy and had a vanishing twin. And so that's the terminology used when you're pregnant with twins and one of the babies vanishes or, absolves. And so she spontaneously got pregnant with twins 13 months and had the second set 13 months later.
Wow.
Okay. So was pregnant with twins, one vanished. So she had a singleton, a boy, got pregnant right away and had twin girls. And she has said to me from the beginning, she said, I think one of these twins came through this other pregnancy. And she would tell you, she wasn't thinking about spirit babies. She wasn't thinking about souls, but y'all, the second pregnancy, the twins, one of the girls looks just like the boy who was born 13 months prior. Even going through puberty, they went through puberty at the same time. The other girl twin was on a completely different timeline. They look more similar. They connect. Their connection is like they're twins.
Wow.
And feel free. The sister is in the room here. But I thought of this story this morning because here the mom, there's something in her she knew, and it's crazy. They're like the twins.
Wow.
But the baby, is that like a thing?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. It's amazing. I mean, these stories are so incredible. Like goosebumps. I know. Goosebumps.
I know. Anyone else have goosebumps? Because I'm like, that baby just needed to come in that first, whatever reason, didn't safe or it wasn't the right time, environment, as you were using those words earlier, and then came through the next pregnancy to join her sister to.
Exactly.
Feel free to dive in.
It's so cool.
Tears.
It's so beautiful. And I think that's the thing. It's like, and that's the thing is that I love what you said there. Just even that a lot of you don't even have to be interested in these kinds of things to have an experience like that. Like that's the thing is that I see this all the time where people come to me and they're like, I have no interest in this. This is not this is not an area that I'm necessarily interested in, but they'll say, I had one experience where I had a mom who very tragically lost her daughter was born prematurely and was in the NICU for a period of time, I think about 8 to 9 weeks, and unexpectedly passed away in the NICU. And they were just getting ready to take her home. And she passed away in the NICU. And a couple years down the line, she got pregnant again and had her baby. And as she pulled this baby up onto her chest, she looked at this baby, and I have goosebumps. I'm talking about it. And she went, "Oh my God, that's her. That's my daughter that passed away 2 years ago in the NICU. It's her again. She's here," right? There's that recognition where it's just it transcends logic and intellect, and it just goes there's a soul to soul connection. And she recognized the soul of that her first daughter, and she recognized the same soul in her second daughter. They're in different bodies, and there was a passing that was involved in between, but it's the same soul. And so I see things like that happen all the time where or I haven't heard of that particular experience with the twins, which is amazing. And that's great. This is building my kind of knowledge base. But that is where a sibling, will or a child or a soul will try it, and then it doesn't work out. And then they'll come back along in a different form or a different context in a different pregnancy. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. There's so much intelligence. I think that's one of the things that I love to communicate is that there's so much intelligence to this process. And even when it seems I know that through this process, I work with this a lot where people are like, I don't understand. Why is it not working? Why I thought it would work this time. I thought that I was going to conceive. I thought that this was going to work. I thought that this child was going to stay. What happened? I don't understand. And what I have understood and what I have seen time and time again is that there is so much intelligence and there is so much that is being orchestrated that sometimes we on a human level just cannot understand in present time and space. And just, I really think as just a general message to all mothers and people across space and time is that, it is that there is, I know this sounds like such a cliche, but there's such meaning and there is reason to the experiences that you're having, however painful and however tragic and traumatic, that there is intelligence and there is meaning, and it's not random. And a lot of the times there are not accidents, there are not accidents. There's things that can seem like they are, and then we go into the soul level and it's not actually. It was very intentional or intended or this kind of thing. So
and I think it's sometimes very difficult to hear. So I want to acknowledge that. At the same time, I think it's important to hear because it can keep us, or it can free us from being stuck in grief.
Yeah, right.
With having that understanding.
Yeah.
Emily, sitting with choosing to be a mother or not, that there's two parts, and we have a chat that just came up. But one, I think. I've worked with so many women who do not want to become mothers for their reasons, and I feel like sometimes it's difficult. They feel like they don't have permission to forego motherhood. I think there's a lot of societal pressures, or in even just saying that again, like out loud, like I don't want to be a mom, or. And what does that look like? And then a question was asked, the doubting, like, are we supposed to be mothers? And can you see the chat room?
Yes, I can. Yes, I'm reading that.
Maybe just, to touch on this question. And, these are very valid reasons and for hesitancy.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that something that I see changing quite a bit, I'm going to answer this question directly, but I see this changing quite a bit where I feel like there is this maybe more of a collective freedom to choose to not be a mother with diminishing levels of guilt or doubt. I do see this where there's a lot of women who are just like, it's not for me, and or it's not for me right now, and I'm at peace with that decision. But I also understand the sort of the doubting, and I think what I would say to that is that there's a lot of different factors, but just that your experience is so valid, like that is so allowed. And even if something that people ask me a lot is like, what if I doubt it and I don't know, or I really don't think that I want to be a mom, but I also have these spirit babies, like what then? Because what happens then? And basically, what I will say is that it takes, and this is, a way to say it is that it takes, in order to get a soul here, I mean, it requires the permission and the willingness in some way, conscious or subconscious, of the mother and the family. There's so many, and that's the thing, there's so many different energies that are involved in the process of conception, in some situations and others not. But and so these souls, if you are in that particular experience and you're just like, I just don't know, or I'm doubting, or, there's a lot of factors that would make this difficult for me, or whatever the case may be, just that is okay. And there's also no hard feelings from these souls. Usually what they'll say is just, it's okay. You have choice. We are as human beings, we have free will. And that is the part of this planet that is, equally beautiful and challenging, depending on which way you look at it. But you have free will and you have the free will to also make a choice without having to carry the burden of guilt or doubt or what if, or, and when people say, you know, I can sometimes see this future of a family and I can see myself with children, or I can see myself, and then the next day it's gone, right? Or I don't feel that at all, or I don't feel connected to that at all. It's just basically you are grasping or grokking or looking at different, what I call timelines, different possibilities, different opportunities, and different options. It doesn't mean that that is necessarily, that is the opportunity. It's like, oh, I saw it, so it must be true. It's, I still have a choice and I still have an opportunity. There's an opportunity. It doesn't mean that I have to take it, right? Just as like there's a bus that's driving by on the main street out there, you have an opportunity to get on that bus and go somewhere, but you don't have to, right? So that's the thing, is that there is never any hard feelings. And sometimes what will happen, I will just say, I have seen this happen just as a possibility, as an opportunity to throw it out there, is women who I've worked with as well, who say, I will never be a mom. I do not want to be a mom. It is just not my thing. I'm not going to do it. And then one day they wake up and they're like, I need to be a mom right now. Like, I need to have a child right now. And it switches very quickly. And I'm seeing this happen a lot right now in the last 2 years. There are people that I've been talking to who are saying, this is crazy. I've never wanted to be a mom. I don't even know if I like kids, you know, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, this is all I want. And this is all I can think about. And again, like I said, coming back to this is kind of a full circle moment of my point of that there is a huge desire and a wish to be on planet Earth right now, and to be here and to be in a body and to support what's going on the planet and to change the planet and all this kind of stuff. And you know, soul can sometimes basically say, I really want you, and I hope that you'll say yes, but there's still a possibility that you might say no, and that's also fine. And something that can change a person's perspective very quickly. But I'm also not saying that that might never happen for you, and that's also fine. That's also good. That's also perfect. So
haven't scared off these babies this past couple of years. Chaos and
no, they're stronger than ever.
There's going to be some fierce souls coming through.
Yes, tell me.
Here to soothe and heal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we need you. Please keep coming here.
Well, and I had noted, just from the little that I had learned about spirit babies, is that yes, that there's not this deprivation of human life.
Yeah.
If you know, if a woman chooses not to have a baby or not to have a baby right now, there's not like this moral judgment, and that they sit in love and in nurturance and willingness.
Yeah. You know,
through love. So I remember reading that.
So much love, so much love. And the other thing that I say too is that, you know, and this is something that I have seen. It doesn't happen often, but I have seen this, where a soul will come to a parent or a mother. This can happen to men as well. I see this happen to men, where the man is sometimes the contact. Usually it's coming to the mother first, but I have seen the man as well as getting the first contact. That also happens. So not to leave them out, but so what will happen, what I've seen, is that a soul will choose a mother. And I have this beautiful friend, and she's very conscious and very, very aware. And she said, I felt this little soul come into my field, and I had to, you know, with tears in my eyes and pain in my heart, I had to say, no, I'm sorry, I cannot be your mom. I can't be this person for you, and you'll have to go and see if you can connect with somebody else. And so she sent him, and I actually have I have another story that kind of links into that. So cool. Okay. So she said, she basically asked this soul to continue on his journey, continue on his path. And after she had that little ceremony with him, and he moved on, and she didn't feel his energy again. And so that does happen too, where it's like that we can have this conscious awareness of a soul who's coming to say, hello, can I come into your family? Can I be here with you? And maybe for whatever reason, whatever the circumstances are, we have to say, I'm sorry, I love you, and thank you for choosing me, but I have to ask you to continue on your path, basically. And so I have seen that happen. The other thing I will say is have a friend. I'm going to condense this story as best as I can. And she had at the time she had two beautiful daughters, both under the age of 3. They were very close in age, and she always knew that she had to bring 3 souls onto the planet. So she always had she always had felt the 2 energies of these little girls and this energy of this little boy. And so she was in Mexico, of all places, on a vacation, and still feeling the energy of this little boy, knew that they were going to conceive soon, sort of in the near future. And when they were in Mexico, she had this dream. And in the dream, the boy came to her and said, "I'm so sorry. I can't be a part of your family anymore. I have to move on. But I'm going to bring you another soul who you're going to basically connect with, and you'll know when it's her." And so I remember she was telling me, she said, "I woke up from that dream and I was so confused. And I was like, what? Like, why did he move on? I don't understand. And what is he talking about, meeting this other new soul?" And anyway, so the following day they were out on the beach, and I got goosebumps. And this little girl runs up to my friend, and she was about the age of 3 or 4, and she put her hands, she came up, and my friend kind of crouched down and said, "Hi, like, what are you doing?" And she put her hands on my friend's belly and said, like, "Mama." And my friend was just like, "What? Like, what?" Like, she was just like, "What is this?" And so then she linked up with this little girl's parents, and she was like, "What is your daughter's name? Like, I just met her." She ran up to me, and they said, "Oh, her name's Samara." And she said, as soon as she heard that name, Samara, she goes, "That's it. That's the new soul. That's my daughter." And so about a year later, she brought her beautiful 3rd daughter, Samara, into the world. So that's just another, I have so many stories. I just collect them like ravenously, because I think that the stories really give the context of how many different experiences there are to this, and how many different like complexities and layers and levels there are to this process. But this boy basically had to go, and he said, "I've got another soul for you," and I brought her in, and she'll present herself to you. And obviously that happened in human form, but that's how she got her name. That's how she got her 3rd daughter's name, was by the name of this little girl who ran up to her on the beach and thought that she was her mom. So yeah, pretty cool.
So, okay, that's incredible. That's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I have 2 things that come up, and just to be mindful of everyone's time, good for me to know that I can't talk fast, and I'm really into these conversations. So if you can hang on, great. If not, I will send you a recording, but I would love to close space before you do leave, if time permits for you all. But for a woman who chooses to freeze her eggs,
yes.
Okay, how do I ask this question? Has it been communicated to you when a soul takes form? Is there a certain part of the pregnancy? Is it right away? Is it later in the pregnancy? Or is that something that's even been brought to awareness?
It's a great question. It actually didn't.
Am I asking the question the right way? Yeah. Like, is there a timeline for when a soul takes form into the body? Okay.
Great question. Yes. This actually didn't come into my awareness for quite a few years into my work. And usually, like, if I don't have information, if I'm asked the right question, I have access to the information. And so I had somebody ask the same question as you did. And I went, "I have no idea. Let me ask." And so I went and I asked, and I said, "How does this work? How does this work? How does this happen?" And basically the description, I'm going to describe this as best as I can. Basically, the description was that a soul chooses a body from the very beginning. So from the egg, it chooses like what the egg and whether if it's in an IVF process, it's an embryo, they'll choose the one that is going to create the body that will hold the soul, basically. So it starts, this is a very kind of, simple way to describe it, but it's like if you are in, a store looking at a new computer, it's like, what is the computer that I am going to use to bring my soul into, basically? And it's actually quite sophisticated. I've seen that where people will go into this, basically, this kind of life preview, and they can preview, what will it look like for me to be in this body, and how will this body move, and what kind of challenges will this body have, and it's very sophisticated, so it's quite cool. But anyway, and so there's a choice. Now, what I have learned is that even with that choice, the soul doesn't come into the body right away. So it's like there's a selection, but the soul doesn't come into the body right away. That actually happens. It's different for every soul. It's different for every soul and every body. I find that it usually will not happen before the 3-month mark or before the first trimester mark. Usually when a soul is coming into a body and this is the thing too, is that the soul, this is a cool part actually, the soul can continue to move in and out from physical to ether, actually past the point of birth, but all throughout the pregnancy, because the body and the soul is dependent on the mother's life force. And so the mother's life force is feeding and nourishing the baby's body and continuing to help it grow, even if the soul is out continuing to be different places. So the soul will kind of actually continue. Every soul is different. Some souls choose to come in and stay in. Other souls continue to kind of travel in and out, physical ether. But what I have seen is that it usually isn't before the 3-month mark. And the average is usually around the 6-month mark, where the soul comes into the body fully and completely and stays there until birth. But even, I'm sure you've noticed this, Peyton, working with the kind of work that you do, you see these newborn babies, and they a lot of the times newborn babies, it's different for every baby, but sometimes you could tell like a soul is there. It's in soul. It's in the baby is so awake and so aware and so alert and so just in. You could just tell. And then sometimes there's babies who continue to kind of go in and out for the first Yeah, so it depends. It's different for everybody, but there are some of these kind of 3 months, and I see 6 months. Some souls don't choose to come in until right before birth. So it depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to allow time for those, if there's any questions or nuances that you want to ask Emily while she's here. Is it possible for a soul to choose to come in for a pregnancy, but then another soul comes in instead? Oh, great question. And please, I just want to make sure those of you who are here today that your questions get answered, and I'll make sure to connect you with Emily. And then I would love to close before we say goodbye for now. Okay.
That is a really good question. It's a great question. And the short answer is yes, it is possible. It's rare, but it's possible. Basically, it depends, so a soul can commit to an incarnation and commit to a body. And then just as we have free will as human beings, souls also have free will. And so they can change their mind just as we can change our mind if we would like to be a mother or not. And so it is possible that a soul can choose a body, choose an incarnation, choose a family. And then sometime throughout the process, they actually go, I don't think this is the right time for me. And there's another soul who would like to step in. It is rare. I've only had the experience with this twice, but I have seen it happen. So in my experience, it really just is a matter of I'm not sure if this is the right time for me. This could be a situation where that soul comes back as another sibling in the future, or it could be an experience of that soul just moves on their journey, like I said before. But to answer your question, Regina, yes, it is possible. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
Sure, I didn't miss anything.
In closing, I'm just feeling, and whoever's attended, I don't know, but if this is in something that you have even experienced, but if there is a baby that wants to be named, to send a blessing to. This is a safe space for acknowledgement. Whether if you want to do that into a chat, like I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the three souls or the three miscarriages that I had, that whether it was, my son Bowen all three times or a different soul, I just want to hold space and acknowledgement for those babies. And I just, I ask you, as you're attending, maybe just to take a moment to close your eyes. Let's have our left hand on our heart and our right hand out, sending love to everyone who was able to join us today. You guys can understand why I wanted to have Emily on to hold this space. It's sacredly and beautifully with such deep understanding. We give thanks and gratitude for our bodies to create, to feel, to experience. We give thanks for Emily today to share the wisdom that is being brought through her so beautifully. We give thanks for the opportunity to gather here together, to learn, to feel, to cry, to celebrate, to acknowledge. And we give blessings to those babies, named, unnamed, and all potential, with deep gratitude, love, and respect. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here today. My dear friend Kelly, who connected Emily and I, and for all of you for showing up with such deep love and compassion today. Thank you. Blessings to you all. Emily, where can everyone find you if they want to deepen their intuitive gifts, if they want to connect with their spirit babies? We'll make sure to send the meditation Emily spoke of. Where can one find you?
Yes. So the best place is probably Instagram. I'm just Emily the Medium on there. It's very simple. Everything is everything you need to know is there. In terms of newsletter, I send out little newsletters with just things that I've got going on, podcasts, things like that, events that I have happening. So you can also check me out on my website, emilythemedium.com. Everything's pretty congruent.
Yeah, Emily the Medium.
Yeah, you got it. I can pop it in the chat here.
Yes, and we're gonna pop that in there. Thank you all so much. And thanks for staying a little longer to join us.
Thank you.
Emily, what a blessing you are. Thank you so much for holding the space, for your time and your love and your gift that you're offering to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Payne, for inviting me to be here. And
thank you.
Blessings on this space, blessings on the womb room and everything that it will continue to be, and all the offerings that you'll continue to bring through it. It's a really beautiful energy here today, and I'm grateful to everybody who was a part of it, and to you for inviting me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, thanks everyone. We did our first one. Yeah, yes.
That's amazing.
All right. Much love, everyone.
Everybody.